When Mauro and I were recently in Portugal, they caught us in some Portuguese newspaper. It looks like a wanted photo.
Yeah.
You see this?
Yeah.
I'm going to put this on the camera. I think it says two drunk guys in love walking down the street.
The best piece of advice I ever got from my father, who was a trial lawyer, he says, let everybody assume you're stupid. When they're least prepared for it, you break out the goods.
Wow.
And it turned out to be the best advice I had my entire career.
Welcome to this episode of Bourbon and Proof, where we interview those who have been both successful at law and life. And today we're very, very honored to have on the Ilya Lerma from right here in Arizona.
Thanks, Bob.
So we're filming live on location at Walter Studios in Phoenix, which we've been here before. They're a fantastic location. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our esteemed co-host, Mauro Fiore Jr.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the rousing introduction.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here as always.
Yeah, so we'll start with a pour before we get into your story. Is that okay?
Perfect. Works
All right,
for
can
me.
we bring out the Arizona Attorney on Instagram at the Arizona AZ Attorney? Out here, Travis Davis.
He's
Thanks for
our
having
bourbon
me, Bob.
sommelier today.
We have a whiskey
I'm
sommelier.
your sommelier. All right, you've got a treat today. We're gonna go down the rare character lineup. It's my favorite brand of whiskey right now. They're a non-distilling producer, so they don't actually distill it, but they source everything and they've got a great palate. So everything they make or they put out is delicious. This is what got me into the brand. This is Fortuna. It's a revived brand from like Prohibition era, I believe. But anyway, it's really good. It's a sour mash. Enjoy.
Thank you. So
Awesome.
Travis selected for this episode, all three pours will be from rare character, because we think you are a very rare character.
I'll take that.
Yeah, so first pour. I've never had this one, so I'm excited to try it. I like the color already. This is only like 102 proof or so we're starting a light pour, a light pour. All right.
Beautiful. Smells nice.
To street lawyers and street justice,
Cheers.
Oh, I love that.
and to good Fortuna.
Oh, very good.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, this is
You're not a big whiskey
delicious.
drinker.
Excuse
but
me,
this-
sorry.
I am not. This is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about, because I know you're born and raised here.
I am.
Right? You fight for justice here and across the nation now.
I do. Every opportunity I get.
And the first time that I met you, I was introduced to you as a person that could help do the best storytelling you've ever seen a lawyer do. That was my introduction to you.
That's a good
It's
introduction.
a good, and I
Wow.
know it full circle. So like,
Hell of an introduction.
well, it's true. Then we tried our first case together. I pulled over. Oh, okay.
The taller bottles are. Keep going.
So I recently brought Ilya in to co-try a case with me that I had in downtown Los Angeles, where it started as I needed help bringing out the story of a son that lost his father and the ancillary damage around it. And it turned into us just bringing you in pro hoc, Vice, the third day of trial, to do all the damage as witnesses.
The fastest pro hoc I think I've ever even heard of. It got filed and approved in like 48 hours. It was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, and the judge is like, why is this Arizona lawyer coming in here? I'm like, Judge, it's fine. She's a friend of the family. It'll be okay.
It worked out great. It was great to sit next to you.
And I want to walk through that process first, because for me, that was the most, I was handling a lot of the liability stuff almost for that entire trial. And then you came in to what I say is to bring on the emotion, bring the money, as I like to say. And whenever the decedent's mom came to testify, I mean, there was not a dry eye in the courtroom and you could hear a pin drop. What's that process like?
It's a lot of time. I think it's the process of witness preparation, I think, is one of the undervalued skills of a lot of trial lawyers. But spending a lot of time with the client, which is important. I mean, time's important, but you also have to make use of the time. You have to dig in, get to know the background of your client. You know, a lot of times I'll get brought in because someone will say, hey, I think my client's kind of hard to like. And when I've spent time with them, usually I'm able to dig up something about their past, something that makes them really interesting, something that sort of connects their story of their past to what happened to them. And, that's a process of It is spending time, but it's also knowing where to push, where to ask questions. You know, what happened in your background? What were you like as a kid? And I'll go way back, you know, even if my client's 50 or 60 years old, you know, 70, 80 years old, I'll go back to their childhood to try to, you know, weave that story together.
Wow. And before today's episode, Mara's wife actually reached out to me to see if she could hire you to make Mara more likable.
It's nonsense.
I'm not a miracle worker.
Absolute
No.
nonsense.
I'm teasing.
Likability is one of the few things I could say that I have in spades.
Have you ever seen Mara try a case? It's very, because he's exactly like he is right now in front of the jury, and it's hilarious.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Including the sleeping part.
He has slept in trial.
If I don't eat, now I just don't eat lunch. Because before I would eat lunch and then I'd just be like,
Then the narcolepsy kicks in.
Yeah.
yeah. So now
There's pictures of him asleep at counsel's table.
yeah,
Oh,
now
wow.
I just don't eat all day and then I'm fine. But once I eat, I'm like a grizzly bear. I get very drowsy.
But kudos to you to be able to be the same person you
Oh, yeah.
are in front of the jury that you are in your
It surprises
everyday
me
life.
a lot of lawyers can't do that. They turn into robots.
I think I did that for a time, you know, sort of needing that approval. You know, you kind of need to be the smartest person in the room to prove defense counsel that you know what you're doing. And I think I had a lot of that as a young
Well,
lawyer.
and you too, as a young female lawyer, you probably had a lot more you thought you had to prove in those situations.
Very much so. Very much so. And actually, it's funny because the best piece of advice I ever got from my father, who was a trial lawyer, he says, let everybody assume you're stupid. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no way. Like, I'm not about to do that, Dad. And he's like, no. He says, you know, you're young, you're female. This was, of course, you know, 25 years ago when I was young. You're female, you're Latina. You know, let them assume you're stupid. And when they're least prepared for it, you break out the goods.
Wow.
And it turned out to be the best advice I had my entire career.
Yeah, because you've had 8-figure verdicts right here in Arizona when people said, I think last year you had one that was over 10 million, and a lot of people say that just can't happen in Arizona.
Yeah.
They say it can't happen here, it's too conservative. They say it can't happen here. We don't even get peremptory challenges here. I don't know if you know that. You don't get peremptory challenges in Arizona.
Yeah, I remember I had a lot of discussions about that with Dordick when he was trying that case here, that med mal case that he got a $40-50 million verdict, like the biggest med mal verdict in the history of the state.
It's on appeals, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, he tried that one and he said, no peremptories, man, like the judge does it or something, right?
I believe their case was in federal court, so the
Federal
judge
court, yes.
does all of it.
Yeah.
And Gary Dordick was the reason I was the second largest verdict in Arizona.
she had the title for a while.
Like a nanosecond. But I'm happy that it's happening because I was saying for years, it's not our juries. Like the way we prepare cases in Arizona, we have to scale up. We need better experts. We need higher caliber demonstratives. We need to put on the production. And when we put on the production and we let jurors really see the evidence and understand the evidence, I knew it would happen.
This goes into what you've been big on, which is letting people stay in their best lane for what they do. So like my limitation in that trial was just, I didn't have the time to dedicate to my clients to learn their story and put it on. And I didn't want to wing it. I would rather give up a percentage of our fee to bring in you to do that part of the story, and the client gets a much better result. And that's kind of the work that we've seen you do in the community in Arizona, and now just starting with Justice HQ in Arizona, is the ability to train all of these young lawyers, this army under you, this army, to try cases,
Yeah.
right? And
I'm
that's
sure
the vision.
trying.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that's the one thing, like you're saying, that you have to level up. Bob was one of Bob's firm, Simon Law Group in LA, especially on spine cases, starting 10, 15 years ago. They started really putting on the full dog and pony show that was usually reserved for catastrophic, 8-figure cases, right? And then Bob's firm started putting on the full everything, the best experts, the animations, the
it.
best everything on just like on a disc replacement or something.
Yep.
And it really did raise the level of everybody doing those cases, and it raised the value of those cases for settlement and everything. So Bob's firm
But it's crazy because
California
one
is
expert
really
had
good.
just testified for a partner of mine, and he texted me to say, it was Dr. Fox actually, and he was like,
Foxy's the
he's like,
best.
you guys are like the residency program of trial lawyers at your firm.
I love
He's
that.
like, I loved it. My
That's
wife was like, that should be a
great.
testimony because we train these lawyers to try these cases and to get the max value from it. And a lot of times it's splitting up the pie between other firms and putting on the full dog and pony show, right? But to tell the full story. So we were trying those cases when people were selling for $500,000, $600,000. We're like, we think these cases are worth a lot more. That's just let's just say 4 to 8 million. Let's just say 15 million and put on the show and see what happens. And then I had one verdict with light impact was $17 million. I had one that was, it was a fusion case and $12 million.
And that
because
one, I'll
we're
tell you, the
storytelling.
17 million one, that's Bob's finest work
Oh, that
because
was
it
my
was a
finest.
broken taillight.
Yeah.
Not even, I don't even think they broke the taillight.
No, they
They
did not
scratched
break
the
it.
taillight. They
Yeah, it
got
was a-
17 million bucks. That was your best stuff.
And
That's
paid.
impressive.
And paid.
Your best stuff. Against a trial lawyer on the defense side that had tried that case 500 times.
500. He was
I
actually
believe
the
it.
president of Aboda. He's
Yeah.
the president
So
of Aboda.
not he wasn't in with any babe in the woods. He was in with a tiger, and Bob hit him for
But
17
you know what?
million.
They didn't see me coming.
Nope, I guess not.
They didn't. They thought it was just, it was like my 7th, 8th trial, and it was just, he's hit a few here and there, but it can't happen again.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Well, I'll
that.
tell you, my dad gave me lots of different advice than your dad.
Oh, here we
That
go.
way. Anyone wants to hear about my dad's advice, just send me a message and we can have drinks. Because my dad was a straight Sicilian gangster, so it was a little different. But I've also benefited a lot from lots of people underestimating my intelligence, and they think that I'm just kind of like a crazy guy or whatever. But at the end of the day, they're like, "Oh wow, we just got fucked."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they don't know.
Turns out Mauro has a brain
yeah,
back there.
they don't know. You know, it's good. It's good.
And
For
what you're
sure.
doing, what we're all doing, I think, goes to the moniker for our sponsor. So we have a sponsor for this episode, which is Even Up, and Even Up is rising the tides for all plaintiff lawyers to automate not only demands, medical records, chronologies with claims intelligence. So thank you for sponsoring this show, because I think it makes all of us better if we know everybody's results, we know how to get them, etc. By the way, where's our whiskey sommelier? Because we need another pour. Look at this bottle.
All right, here we
Look
go.
at this bottle.
This is also a rare character. They're all rare characters today. This is a single barrel. So the liquor store or bourbon group that picks it out gets to do their own label, and I thought this label was pretty sick.
Cool.
This is a high rye. There's like 36% rye in here, 60% corn, and some other stuff
Like a
too.
rye.
Me and Bob's favorite, rye.
yeah.
You're on
No,
the
it's
right track.
delicious. Nice complexity. This is absolutely delicious.
This
So-
one was great. The Fortuna
Okay.
is fantastic.
And Travis
Great
is a
choice.
really good. So Travis and I have similar palates. Thank you. I mean, and he picked, these are his personal stash ones. As you can see, he's been either drinking
He's
this.
been
Look
hitting
at this.
it.
He's been hitting it over there.
Or there's a mouse in the house.
Or there's a mouse in the house. But let's pour this one. Yeah. So have you? I mean, do you drink whiskey, bourbon? Like, what's your poison? I see you can usually get some nice gin martinis or vodka martinis when I see you. What's up with
Well,
this?
Yeah,
what's your
I-
background? You're Latina. You're
I'm
saying
Latina.
you're born and raised here in Arizona. Give us a little bit of the
The dirt.
personal story. You know, I mean, forgive me, I'm nosy. You know.
I was born and raised in Douglas, Arizona.
Okay.
A little border town, dusty border town. We were famous for having the International Drug Tunnel. You remember that? The hydraulic pool table on one end and the...
I'm gonna keep this by me just so
No,
I'm
I
gonna read the
never
back of
heard
this.
that.
No, back
Hydraulic pool table?
in early 90s. Yeah, we had a very sophisticated underground tunnel.
Mauro has one of those hydraulic mattresses where you put quarters in.
Well, it's called magic fingers. You know, you put the quarter in there, and
How many quarters?
it's 1 quarter for 5 minutes. But usually I only need like 3 minutes, so it's
That's
good.
like the 70s mattresses.
I saw it on the show Roseanne. I saw John Goodman, and they had one of those mattresses.
The vibrating
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Well, when I was a kid, you know, I'm a 70s kid, you know, like
Me
you.
too.
We're old. No offense, but we're old. They had those at every hotel you'd ever stay at. They had the magic
Really?
fingers. And they had the little thing you put
I
a
thought you
quarter
made
in.
that up. Honestly.
No, it was true.
I was
They
like
had
about
ma-
to edit that out of the episode.
No, they had it, and at all the roadside motels.
Hmm.
And then I don't know what happened to it. I'd like to get one though, like buy one at
Gonna bring it back.
a retro shop or something.
Well, let's do another cheers to pour number 2. This is another
Salud.
rare character.
So you're from Douglas, Arizona,
much.
Douglas, Arizona.
and your dad was a trial lawyer. So you come from a family of trial lawyers, or what's the deal?
He was the only one.
Good.
He became a judge who's judge down in Santa Cruz County, another border town, Nogales, for a number
Nogales,
of years.
wow, yeah.
Not
And
far
then-
from California border.
No,
Nogales.
not far, not far. And then I ended up, I'd always wanted to leave Arizona. I don't know why. I think I felt like there was, I was going to leave Arizona and go to big name school or something like that. My older brother, I have 2 brothers. My older brother got sick. He's disabled, and so I ended up postponing my enrollment, going to Northern Arizona University for undergrad, and I loved it. And I
Up
also
in Flagstaff, up in the mountains.
Yeah,
It's
and-
very nice up there.
then I figured out I didn't really like the cold. so
It
maybe
snows up there, man.
started taking Wisconsin off the list. You know, that was my backup plan. Originally, I wanted to be a doctor.
Wow.
And so I
Well, you're still a doctor,
pulled
just a
the-
juris doctor.
I am a juris doctor. That's right. Happily avoiding the medical doctor part.
But you
So
do a lot of
where'd you go to
medical
law
jobs.
school then?
So this is law school at U of A.
Yeah, I'm right
So
here.
you're born and bred here.
I never
And you-
left.
And you've
Not only
never
a-
lived anywhere else?
No.
Not only a great trial lawyer, she was
Except for the
president.
vacation house in Newport Beach?
But Ilya does travel a lot, so I see you on the speaking circuit a lot now and helping a lot of lawyers educate them on what to do. But yeah, I mean, you once said, I'll never forget, you said you're the greatest 10-year overnight success story that anybody's ever heard. Right? I mean, this
Yeah.
is, you know, because
It's
you've been
so
doing this
true.
for a long time.
I
You
have
just-
been. I have been
Yeah.
doing it. I was, in fact, I'll tell this story. I don't think you've ever heard it. There was a period of time I was going to quit the law. It wasn't that long ago. I was getting out of my partnership. I had had a string of very unimpressive runs in federal court where I couldn't even get to a jury trial, much less, you know, have success when I was actually there. And I was thinking, I was like, I need to take a year off. I'm going to go like wash dogs at PetSmart. Like I just really need a break.
That would be a good job, by the way.
I did. I've like really needed like puppy therapy. But that's when I met Alejandro Blanco, and he
You know
inspired
Alejandro
me.
Blanco?
The Argentinian.
Yeah,
El
the Argentinian.
Argentino.
He inspired me to keep on going and we started trying cases together. We started talking about the psychology of the courtroom, some of the things they don't teach you in law school. And my results turned and they turned and they turned and they started getting bigger and bigger.
What was the name of Blanco's thing that he had? It was called
Trojan horse?
Trojan Horse.
That
I
was,
met him.
yeah.
Danny
I met him
Ambrose
through
and
like
him.
Trojan Horse, him and it was like probably a good 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think that's a lot of lawyers search for. By the way, this is 116 proof. I could taste it too. Gosh.
So how
That's
long have you been
very
practicing?
flavorful. 24 years, almost 25.
But I think that's what the one thing that I've seen you just be a master in the courtroom is having that calm cadence, the delivery, the compassion, and the other side had objected to you a few times, and it was just smile on your face, continue on, make your record, and go. And sometimes I get a little pissed off. I mean, I don't know about you, but if they object, I'm like, come on. Like, I lose my temper a little bit, but she was just cool as a cucumber.
Yeah,
You gotta have those like planned like silences in the courtroom. you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I never realized how important that was. And I tried a case years ago, probably 10 years ago, with Nick Rowley. And Rowley's a master at that stuff. When Rowley, you know, for everything, Rowley's crazy about a lot of stuff. But you put Rowley in the courtroom, man, he's otherworldly, man. And the way he talks, the way he looks at the jury, the way he has those silences that you can hear.
Were you
Pretty
trained in this?
amazing.
Because it's very hard. Like, we get so excited in the moment. We know what's coming up. I want to get to the point. And the hardest thing for me to do is just I actually write a post-it to myself and say, slow down. Yeah. It's hard, like, because you want to
It
be so
is.
excited. But it's almost like methodically slow, and it's almost like perfect iambic pentameter when you're doing it.
It's a lot of deliberate practice, honestly. I started I would say, a path to self-work. And so a lot of that was getting out of my own head, getting rid of the perfection monster that was sort of running the show, and then learning a lot about human behavior, including my own, psychology, in the courtroom, persuasion, all of it. And then it sort of coincided with the work that I was doing with Alejandro and being able to try those cases really helped me understand, sort of encapsulate all of that knowledge and then figure out, you know, we have to win on the facts and the law and the evidence, but we also have to have an understanding of what the psychology is in the courtroom, because the defense is using it. They're using greedy plaintiff lawyer, something for nothing. You know, that's not evidence, but they make those arguments and it's persuasive. So understanding how to turn that on its head and you know, change the results, it made all the difference.
I tried one federal case here in Arizona. They get the actual juror questionnaires ahead of time.
Yeah.
Which we don't get those where we are. It's like a few days, it's like a
None?
week.
Not even state
I mean,
court?
sometimes you get it as you walk in, and then you get to fill them, score them, come back the next day. This was like, we got them like 2 weeks in advance.
Wow.
We got them, and we were like, we're going to go ahead and waive jury on this one. No, but we did. But everybody's interest, like 75%, they loved Fox News and Big Bang Theory. There was like two shows that everybody loved. I was like, this is just a weird dichotomy. I don't know why, but a lot of psychology behind
Yeah,
it.
I tried a case up in Northern California a couple of years ago, and the judge had his own questionnaire, and he gave it out on the first day. Then he said, "Okay, I want all the lawyers to go home with these, take a look at them, and then come back tomorrow. We'll start this jury selection." And I remember reading them, thinking, "Oh man, I'm going to get my ass kicked." You know, I mean, they didn't know anything about the case other than it was a slip and fall.
Oh, a slip and you were trying a slip and fall? You're kidding me.
Can you imagine me trying to slip and fall? Like 500 of them. Slip and fall at a Walmart. Oh man, that's it. They didn't know anything else about it. Geez, some of the responses were just crazy.
Yeah.
They're like, "This guy's an ambulance chaser." I didn't even open my mouth yet in the courtroom. "This is an ambulance
And that's
chaser. This
where
is
we're up
fraud." You know.
But now,
it's
now
like,
you see
wow.
those red flags, it's easy to get those jurors
Yeah.
off for cause.
Not only that, but if you're in a good place, right? And this goes back to that sort of alchemy that you were talking about with Nick Rowley in the courtroom, you know, sort of being there with
alchemy, I like
there
that
is.
word.
No, there is very much an alchemy, I think, that happens between you and the jurors. And a lot of it sometimes is they just really want to be heard, right? They just really want to there's going to be the extremists, right, who they just say, no money for anybody. We hate billboard lawyers. You know, we hate all of this. But then there's other folks who are a little bit middle of the road, and nobody likes that. But they might be willing to just keep the door open that maybe you're not that person. And if they feel like they're being heard and they have an opportunity to kind of vent their frustrations and their concerns, they don't want to be fooled. And when there's candor, right? When you receive that information from them and you tell me more about that, you know, let's talk about it, and you get other people talking. I have found in my last few trials that just doing that part of just listening. Sometimes I didn't even have a response, right? Like, yeah, I hate billboard lawyers too. Like, what was I supposed to say? I didn't really know, and but just listening to them, those actually for the last trial ended up being some of our best jurors.
And
I
that's
think,
The last trial
I
before
think
yours.
especially here in Phoenix, as far as, you know, I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, but, you know, as everyone knows, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Arizona Cardinal. I have an Arizona Cardinals tattoo.
Do you really?
He does.
Tattoo right here.
We both have Phoenix
I'll be
tattoos. That's how
darned,
we
look
first
at
met.
that.
I'm born and raised in LA. I'm a
That's
Cardinals
like-
fan
that's
till
like a-
death.
Look at his
Where's
shirt. He's got a
Waldo?
Phoenix
I would
Van
never
Halen.
find that if you had told me to.
Yeah, you can see it. But yeah, so I love Phoenix.
He's got a
I
lot of
come here.
canvas.
I come to I got a lot of canvas. I come to a lot of Cardinals games. I have for years and years, for more than a decade, you know, and there's no place I've ever seen with more billboards than Phoenix as far as for PI lawyers. More than LA by 100%. More than Las Vegas. This place is crazy with the billboards. And they have every type of
that's-
billboards.
Well, let's
for
bring out the
lawyers.
next whiskey sommelier, because we're going to get into, not only is Ilya on leadership, she was past president of the trial lawyer bar here, but she's on for a task force, which is essentially talking about those alternate business solution firms that are coming in, private equity, that is buying law firms that do pop up billboards and do these things. So I'm excited for this one. 'Cause
All right.
Look at the color of that.
This is your dessert. This is a straight rye whiskey finished in a maple cask. You might be a little leery about it, but it's
I like the color.
it's a great color, and it's not too overpowering with maple. It's pretty well balanced, very well balanced. I believe.
Why
So-
might we be leery about it?
Well,
It doesn't have
Oh,
a
it's
traditional
because of maple,
whiskey
you know,
bourbon
it's like-
color.
And again, this is
if you're
100
drinking- if you're
106
drinking bourbon,
proof.
You don't want overpowering sweetness. You want a nice balance, but I think this.
And this is
balanced
again the
well.
same maker.
Rare character.
Rare character. This might, well, I'll say, but I love these finished
You're
maple.
enjoying
This one had a lot of spice.
This is a very
That one had a lot of
sweet,
spice.
has a very nice sweet smell to it, which is nice. It's a whirl.
Love it.
Barbarino, there you go.
Ooh,
Straight rye.
yeah, this is usually my jam. Straight rye with a maple cask. This is
does
usually
smell
what
like,
I can.
well, it smells like,
Cheers. I've never had this one.
Salud.
smells like Eggo waffles.
Cheers.
Oh, that's so good, I could drink the whole bottle.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really good.
Good Lord.
That's good.
This is why you can become an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Actually, it's only an alcoholic if it causes problems.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I have a couple drinks a night with my
that's
wife.
your
It's not a problem.
working definition.
Yeah, I mean, Bob's a drunk, but he's fine.
Yeah, but I'm fine.
Who's deciding whether or not we have problems?
Exactly. That's the psychology. That's the alchemy what we just learned on this
We
episode.
drank, we were in Europe together this year for like 35 days.
Yeah.
We drank 35 days in a row.
35 days.
Wow.
35 days in a row.
I've only taken off maybe 3 days this year. I looked at my wife.
Yeah,
like 3
we
days off.
drank
like
gin
one
and
drink.
tonics all day long
Yeah.
at the beach. And then at night we had our stash of bourbon at the house. And
No sugar. We didn't know sugar in our drinks. It's
It was
fine.
beautiful.
So tell you. So you know, one of the great things about it, to be a great trial lawyer, I know you have your daughter, you have your family, you have to do all these things in life and balance that with building your firm. You're now at Ilya Law, and you have a great partner.
I do.
Tell us about
Fantastic.
your great partner.
Fantastic partner. So Brad Schaefer is my fiance. We married February next year.
To be wed.
Yeah. But Brad has been transformative, I feel like, for my law practice. I'm super grateful. I'm super lucky because, as you know, this profession and this personal injury track in particular is really, really
Yeah.
taxing on our roles as partners, as spouses, as parents. My kids have been just incredible. I have 2 girls. And they saw me through a lot of it, you know, leaving town for a month to go try a case in Chicago. You know, it was hard on them too. So very much, I appreciate the fact that I had people behind me
Is
supporting
one of
me.
your daughters going to Spain to go to school?
She lives in Spain.
Awesome.
Yeah, she lives in Spain right now. She just packed up a bag and said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to move to Barcelona. And
Wow.
I don't speak the language. I don't know anybody there, and I'm just going to do this.
She doesn't speak Spanish, or she doesn't speak
She
Catalan?
does now.
Catalan's
she did.
a different language.
Her Spanish is pretty terrible. She'd probably tell you that. Not right about now. We're just about even. 'Cause
You know,
mine could.
Bob
stand-
speaks real good Spanish.
Does he? Do you?
Por supuesto. Yo soy abogado por el
bueno.
puente.
Oh, mira.
Yeah.
Impresiva, mira, mira,
Claro que sí.
impresivo.
Yeah, when we're in Spain, he throws out his Espanol, and they're pretty shocked sometimes.
Oh, but
Yeah.
but is that good? Because you know the Castilians don't. They're not very
No,
impressed
they-
with the
no,
Mexican
actually-
Spanish.
And don't go to Portugal and speak Spanish, by the way. Portuguese
Yeah,
don't
they're
like
okay, and even the Catalonians, they want to speak their Catalan shit, but they speak Spanish.
that. Can't say that.
Sorry, excuse me. But if you go to Portugal, Portugal hates Spain. So if you go to Portugal and you speak Spanish, they'll answer you in English.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
funny.
Because they don't want to speak Spanish because they don't like Spain. They want to speak Portuguese or English. Right?
Yeah, and you and Brad, your husband to be, you guys do a lot of traveling together whenever you're speaking and taking vacations. And you guys were just recently somewhere and you guys got your black and white photos. What was this? You're telling us?
Gosh. So we were in South Dakota. South Dakota trial lawyers had me back for the 2nd year in a
Wow.
row to present to them, and they are like the nicest people you've ever met. But we're in the middle of Deadwood, and it's just a great historic town, and they have the vintage photos, old time photos. And so we're like, oh, we're always saying we're going to do this someday. We're going to make the time. And so we finally decided to go ahead and do it. We got a great photographer. We just had a blast.
We're going to drop these photos in. So we
I've been to Deadwood, and I always tell people it's like Frontierland at Disneyland, but it's real.
Yeah.
Because you can't believe it when you go there. It's like,
Oh.
this is a real town. It's like, yeah, it's been here for hundreds of years.
But they give you those old vintage Western-looking photos where you pose and
Very
stuff.
much so.
So
Very-
when Mauro and I were recently in Portugal, they caught us in some Portuguese newspaper, and it looks like a wanted photo.
Yeah.
You see this?
Yeah.
I'm going to put this on the camera.
That's me and
I don't know. I mean,
it says
Oh my.
the vigilantes.
I don't know. I think it says
love it.
two drunk guys in love walking down the
Yes.
street.
We were drinking port wine, which will fucking make anyone.
I drank port the first time I got soaked because I have indigestion from port. That's why I drink whiskey. I know it
I was
sounds
drinking
strange,
port
but
wine
like,
and I
yeah,
was fucked up.
he
I
was
was
fucked
drinking
up.
Sandman.
Sandman.
The Sandman port.
But yeah. What was I gonna say? I forgot already. Fuck. Okay.
The Phoenix is
Yeah.
talking to you already. So when I met Mauro, we both realized we both had Phoenix tattoos. He gave me a Phoenix necklace he was wearing, and then he pulled
My Phoenix.
on a slot machine that had a Phoenix slot machine in Vegas and won 25 grand.
Shiba?
That's a true story.
Yeah, I won 25 grand at a Phoenix slot machine after I gave Bob my Phoenix medallion.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good luck.
That's
It
amazing.
was good luck.
Met him in a hot tub, and here we are.
Yeah, a long time ago, 15 years ago.
Oh gosh.
Probably longer than
We
that.
were
actually.
hot tubbing.
Hot tubbing in Vegas, which is weird. Like hot tubbing in hot weather is always weird to begin with, but
Did you go? Let me ask you, if you were in South Dakota, did you go to Mount Rushmore?
We went last year, so that my first year there.
And that's another thing, because I've done a lot of traveling around the world and through the U.S., and I always tell people, if you've never been to Mount Rushmore, it is truly mind-boggling when
Really?
you go there, right? I mean,
It's impressive.
Dude, you go there and they have like this amphitheater, and you sit down like on these like benches, and you look up at it, and it's like, whoa, dude, how in the fuck did they do that? You know, I definitely tell people if you're in South Dakota, you got to go to Mount Rushmore. I mean, it's just you have to.
Who would you put on the Mount Rushmore of trial lawyers?
Well, you know, I
Think about
for
it because
sure
it's
would
hard.
think. I think for sure Jerry Spence. Got to put Jerry Spence up there. You know, you got to put Gary Dornick up there. You know, you got to put Brian Panish up there. You know, and
This is a
I don't
hard
know.
one. I want to hear what, like,
the fourth one would be hard for me. You
aren't
know?
there 5?
Or is there 4 or 5 on there?
There's 4.
There's 4.
There's 4.
The fourth one would be hard. I mean, Arash Hamanpour,
Yeah, he's
you know,
been crushing it.
or Nick Rowley, or you know, some of those. A lot of great.
I mean, I'd be
great
interested for
trial
the, our viewers and listeners. Let's figure out we should do a vote or something, a Mount Rushmore of trial lawyers, because there's only a few that are in what's called the inner circle, which is a lot of politics too, but I think there's only 1 or 2 women in the inner circle, right?
That's my
Randy
understanding.
Randy's in, and who else?
Randy's the one I knew.
And the little girl from Brown Green's office, not from Brown Green's, from Brian's office.
Debbie Chang? She's
no,
in?
no, the other one. God, I can't remember her name. The Italian.
Oh, Chris Bagnoli?
Chris
She's in
Bagnoli.
inner- Wow.
She's in her circle.
Is
That's
Amy
her.
Wagstaff?
I don't think
Oh,
so.
she does a lot of mass torts.
She does do a lot of mass torts.
No,
Very
interesting. I mean,
impressive.
it's just, I talked
There,
to her
and
twice. I've never seen her
there's
try a
this
case.
trial lawyer from Texas that I've read a couple of his books.
Mark
that I-
Lanier.
No, not him. But it's a guy. He wrote this book called Winning with Stories. That's just an amazing trial lawyer book, and I did some research on him, and some of his verdicts are amazing. And he might be up on the Mount Rushmore. I can't remember his name right now, but he wrote a couple of amazing books, and he's got huge success verdicts all
We
over. all
actually, I
over
just
Texas.
got my book on trying spine injury cases is coming out with trial guides, and he just wrote a foreword for it. I
that's
got to send you a
awesome.
copy to see if you can write a quick little snippet about.
I'd be
the book.
glad to. That's awesome. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
know
mean,
you had that.
Bob's
project.
firm
Where
is,
do
you
you
know, like-
find the time?
I actually wrote that book when COVID first hit. My wife and I were supposed to take her baby moon with our second child, to Hawaii, and everything got shut down. So we actually went to Gary Dornick's house in Palm Springs because the world shut down and we were just away. So I was there for like 4 days with my wife on our baby moon, and I just wrote whatever because she would sleep in, and I would just write, and that's what I did.
That's fantastic.
And a lot of tweaking and stuff since then, and adding new things and transcripts and visuals.
Bob, I remember. I don't have it anymore, but I had it at one time. You wrote like a science fiction book.
Oh, I did.
Wow.
Bob wrote like a spaceman book one time.
It's called It's a
Is it
Wonderful
coming
Life.
out?
No, it's been out for a long time. It's actually funny. Right now, it talks about artificial intelligence being trained on artificial intelligence and how it creates the end of the world.
And this book came out like 15 years ago.
Yeah, and but the catalyst of it is that they trained the new artificial intelligence on the one thing that they left out intentionally, which they shouldn't have. What that is, belief in God.
Compassion. Yeah.
It's belief in God.
Belief in God.
And that was the one thing that they didn't train the new one on because they thought it was illogical.
Interesting.
And it changed. It just did this whole thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a cool book. I remember I read it a long time ago. I think it was an ebook, like the first
Yeah,
ebook
ebook.
I ever got, and it was so long ago. It was like the first ebook I ever
Well, I
got.
just have these. I like doing creative shit.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of the things that we let go of as lawyers, right? Like we're just in the grind, and so a lot of the creativity falls out. And I think one of the things I found that on this leg of my career is that the creativity makes me a better trial lawyer. So if there's ways that I can find to sort of incorporate creativity, it just makes a tremendous difference.
Yeah.
But I think
I
the
have a friend of
storytelling you
mine-
do
yeah.
that's it.
I
So
have a friend
It
of
is.
mine who's a singer-songwriter. His name's Rhett Miller. He's a lead singer of the Old 97's, an old band that I love. His moniker always, he says, is create every day.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
It's create every day.
Yeah,
So his thing
I
is-
agree with that.
And I strive for that, to create every
yeah,
day.
but as we get to the tail end of the episode here, I want you to tell a few of our younger listeners that are on the fence about starting their firms. They want to get into trial practice. First of all, if they had to reach out to you, and I know on our tech product, Attorney Share, we're encouraging folks to link up with you to help with the whole trial or at least pieces of trial, which, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but you can give up a percentage of your fee to have maybe somebody come do all your damages or pick your jury for you to help you with the trial. because it's a big crutch that a lot of young lawyers need to learn how to do it the right way. But if you're speaking to the younger generation or people that have a new firm, what would you tell them, the lessons you had, if you had known this 15, 20, 25 years ago to get where you are today?
I would say definitely incorporate work with lawyers who are really great at what they do. So if you have a case, and it doesn't always even have to be a good case. Like I've co-counseled on cases for friends, colleagues, just because they wanted the trial experience. It ended up being, really good for me to sort of see what magic we could kind of make happen. So, I think one of the disservices that a lot of attorneys encounter right now is they go out and start their own firm. They don't have any trial experience. They don't get any trial experience. And I was fortunate. I got in with a firm where we did a ton of volume initially. And I had opportunities to work on the big cases that came into the firm. But that was back in the days before we had fee sharing with non-lawyers and we could do some of the things we do now. But back then, if we wanted a fee, we still had to work the case. So I was sitting alongside some of the best lawyers in Arizona. I was learning how to take depositions from them. I was learning how to, build a motion for summary judgment response. And that experience was invaluable. I didn't recognize it at that period of time that I, had kind of that downswing and things were not going well. But later, now I sort of look back on the track of 24 years and I realize how much I really gained from that experience sitting next to trial lawyers who were, I think I held it in my mind that they were better than I was. It was not that they were so much better, that they were different. And so I saw sort of an arsenal of tools that I could cultivate, things that didn't work for them, that maybe worked for me. And that whole spectrum, I think, really created something for me that I feel comfortable with. Now I can be myself in front of a jury, and I can feel like I'm comfortable being able to train and work with other lawyers, some of them very young, but some of them very experienced, and be able to guide them in sort of the things, to best present their case in court.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you because a lot of lawyers reached out to me in the recent past about you, and they're like, you told her about how she helped you out so much. Can you put me in contact? And it's been very special to watch. And now you have to figure out how you're going to be able to scale that because you can't be everywhere at the same time.
It's hard. I definitely have Brad. Brad's trying to figure out how to clone me and not have to put up with two of me. And I think
funny is
my brother too.
My twin brother's name is Brad. He's trying to figure out another way to clone another one of me so that we can do those things. Where's our whiskey sommelier? Because we're going to bring out all three of our
Let me
pours
ask you a
here.
quick question.
Sure.
Can you touch just a little bit more on this fee sharing with non-lawyers that you talked about?
She's on the task force, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's bring out all three bottles.
Because
to
in
have this
California,
discussion.
I go to prison for that.
I need a long pour for this one.
Okay, let's ask you this question first. Let's ask the
that's a
first
felony,
question.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring out the whole line that Travis picked here. So first, we're going to ask you what's your bourbon approved?
I think my winner is the Fortuna.
Wow, the Fortuna.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to pour the Fortuna for you, and then you're going to give us this long answer because no one more apt to answer your question, Mauro Fiore. On this, the year of our Lord,
You're trying to kill
we're
her?
now almost in October
You
2024.
just gave her a quadruple
fine.
pour. You'll be good. She's got a driver.
All right, so get an answer to the question. Take a long pour, and let's do this.
So you ask about the fee sharing with non-lawyers. So approximately 3.5 years ago, Arizona created the path for the ABS, which is the alternative business structure. And it is an opportunity for non-lawyers to own law firms. And it's a program, I would say, that was probably developed in the UK, or that was developed in the UK, and they've been under this, the growth of the ABSs in their legal industry for the last decade or so. And so it was brought to Arizona under the guise of access to justice and providing sort of lower rung services and making those widely available to more people under this new business structure. But along with that meant that lawyers would now have the ability to share fees with non-lawyer entities and non-lawyer persons. So the rule against fee sharing, which we had forever, certainly as long as I had been a lawyer, was eliminated. So now we don't have a rule that permits fee sharing with non-lawyers, but we no longer have a rule that prohibits it. So there's a little bit of
I like.
it
It takes the back alley meetings out of the equation.
Well, there's certainly a lot of people who are taking advantage of that vacuum, and I think, like a lot of things, like AI,
Mara just opened 5 auto body shops since we've been sitting
Yes.
here. Since you said that.
I'm about ready to move to Arizona for sure.
Is that right? So I think a lot of the regulatory stuff, a lot of the ethical guidance that most lawyers would want to have, it doesn't exist yet, but it probably will in the next few years. And the Supreme Court is the entity that's responsible for having permitted the ABSs, and under Justice Bollock, he started the task force, and we've been sort of evaluating the progress of ABSs and what we need to do to strengthen it.
At its core, we've had this discussion. I think if it was an ABS that was like, we're going to be really good at marketing, acquiring cases, being that front-end concierge service to consumers, and they immediately outsourced those cases to the best lawyers they could, and those best lawyers were just true data metrics. If it was like, all right, you get a 25% fee, but you have to send to the best lawyers because they'd be incentivized to do it. That's where I think it can win, and we've been having a lot of discussions with them about putting it to attorney share and finding you in Arizona, right, to find the best lawyer geographically, because then if you're able to put in like the metrics from Even Up, for instance, to say who's going to get the best results for you, the consumer wins. But right now, it's not being used for that purpose.
It's not quite. It's not quite happening. It's not quite happening that way. I will say that, some of the things that we are saying, is there a broader approach? I guess it depends on how you define access to justice, right? Like that's sort of maybe one of the initial problems is that nobody actually set out a definition by which we could set a metric to measure, are we meeting that goal? And so that's a little bit of the problem with measuring the success of the program. But I do think it's here to stay. I think a lot of states would be remiss if they thought that it's just going to be contained to Arizona, because I definitely think that because the UK is the model, I think it's going to continue to expand to other jurisdictions.
We'll have a whole follow-up episode on that a year or two from now, because Arizona's the first one to do it in this magnitude.
I think Washington, D.C. as well.
Washington, but it's a different, and then Utah did it as well, but Arizona's at a completely different, a lot of companies are coming here. So we're at the end of the episode here, and I wanted to present with you, we have a bourbon-approved flask for you. So you can actually take this go if you like. It's pretty nice.
I do.
It's
fantastic. Bourbon approved. I feel so official.
And this fits nicely in these Alani pockets right here. So I've been hiding these things in here. But as they say in Italian, buona fortuna. Good fortunes to you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Ilya Lerma,
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Mauro.
Cheers.
Great to see you guys. Spend some time.